What's up, horror fiends? It's your boy, Ricky Grimes. I am back, three corners of horror, as you can tell. We got Angel from Voices of the Mausoleum. How are you today?
I'm good. I pretty excited to school you guys on this one because I don't think you
Ooh.
guys know as much about this one as I do. So really excited to be here.
No, full disclosure, I know nothing of this game, never played it. I'm a big collector, so I know of the property because it's huge in memorabilia.
Yeah.
Can't escape it. But
No.
it's interesting watching this film because not knowing anything about it, I came in with fresh eyes for the first time. JR, my boy, what up, son? How are you, my friend?
Nah, full disclosure, I just finished watching this movie like 2 hours ago.
No.
This guy used to watch.
I
my
wanted to wait till
God.
the last minute because, well,
I remember
because,
GR was like, watch movies twice, guys. Remember he's always
Oh,
bitch
yeah.
at us, watch it twice, guys.
hey, no, hey, Five Nights at Freddy, or was it Four Nights Overstayed?
Yo,
Look at Angel's face is like, damn
Joe
it.
just put the long face on. What up, Joe, the psychologist? My beard brother.
What's up? You can't see it's beer, but it is beer in here. What's up? This one's gonna be interesting. Because on this one, the psychologist was present, so we'll see.
We shall see. In tonight's video on Three Corners of Horror, we will be discussing Five Nights at Freddy's, directed by Emma Tammy. The writer and creator Scott Cawthon was heavily involved in this film by Blumhouse Productions. The film stars Josh Hutcherson as Mike, Elizabeth Lyle as Elizabeth, and of course Matthew Lillard as Steve. Like we said, Angel is, out of the four of us, the most educated and equipped to definitely come in here with comparisons to the original IP. I believe you played the video games thoroughly. That's why I am glad you're here. Tell us what you thought of this film, and briefly too, give us comparisons how this film compared to the game, since I don't think any of us really know any of that information. So
I read it.
hook us
That's
up.
about it.
Yeah, I looked a little bit
Yeah.
up, but it's not the same. You don't get the same feeling when you put hours into the property, So Angel, what up? What you thought about this film?
So full disclosure, when I did this, I covered this on video game adaptations on my channel. It was a 2 hour and 15-minute video.
I saw that.
Because there were, my friend Kat and I both played the games. She has played all of them. I haven't played all of them. I've played a few. It's very difficult because when I came out of this the first time, I was really upset by it, like really mad, really like. So when we did this video, it was right after I watched it. So it's a lot of ranting about all the problems that I saw in it. And then now my 5-year-old is, not joking, obsessed with this movie. We have to watch it every day. And so now that I've seen it like 12 times, I do find that I do like it a little bit more as its own thing. As far as the game stuff, it's complicated because the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise as a whole is super convoluted in lore. The first two games have virtually no point or no story. It's just a jump scare game. You play, it's the same thing. You play as a security guard, you're watching cameras, you're monitoring their movements, you're picking up patterns, and you just got to survive till 6 a.m. for 5 nights in a row. And then there's like bonus nights after you beat it all. The third game is when you start getting a little bit of lore. And then the fourth game, it like lays into the lore, which it doesn't touch any of that in this movie. Lore wise, story wise, where this film comes from compared to the video games. I realized that Scott, the creator of the games, was really involved in the project. And I think the way that that's obvious is because the movie is super convoluted. There's like 30 stories going on, 29 of which are unnecessary, which makes the story like overly complex for the first installment of what's going to be a trilogy. However, the games are the same way. You play the games and it's like, what? And it was like, it's my friend Kat said it best. When you're playing the games when they were brand new, you were part of the mystery solving. Everybody had theories. You're going into the next game wanting pieces of the puzzle, and he gives you these like little dabs of information. So you're collectively getting a story overall, but it's so big and wild. And I felt like the same thing with the movie. I think the acting was super strong. I think Jim Henson Productions, never say anything bad about them, right? The animatronics themselves, I think, looked great. the part that Joe probably really liked, I hated. I hated the psychology. I hated the grief horror. I hated the dream sequences. Like there were so many things in this that drove me really crazy. I
You're gonna be
will
surprised what
say,
I say.
okay, well, the way you said it all like light, and I was like, oh no. But yeah, I think that the few positives are like there's not as many positives as I have negatives. So I think, having seen it a bunch of times at this point, it's really entertaining now as its own thing. But it took 12 watches for me to step outside of what I wanted from it, because what I wanted it to be, we already got in a different movie. And so this had to be something different. Even though there's like shot for shot, some of the same scenes. But I liked certain parts of it, but as somebody who's a fan of the franchise, it was a really difficult first watch for me. And then eventually I kind of came around, but I got more to say. I'll hold off.
Well, and didn't in the first game he get fired at the end?
If you win the first game, you get a check for like $125 or something like that. You don't learn. You actually learn a lot about the protagonist in the in Sister Location. There's a game called Sister Location that takes place in a different one. It's got different. That one's actually really cool. That's when you like even learn anything about who you're playing as, which is really interesting. But I don't think he gets fired at the end of the first one.
Is that the one with the ballerina?
That's Sister Location.
You know how I know about all these characters is through Funko Pops.
Because Funko Pop. Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. There is a Five Nights at Freddy's Funko Pop advent calendar that I'm going to get my partner's kids for Christmas because I think it's like the cutest little thing.
If you
But
need
yeah,
help
I
looking
figured
for
you would
anything
know some of
Funko
it.
related, you know who to look for.
Yeah, Ballora. Ballora is the ballerina.
Yeah. Oh, Five Nights at Freddy's is a 2014. It's a point-and-click survival game. It's developed and published by Scott Cawthon. Of course, I mentioned him. He's the creator, and he's also a producer on his film.
Yep.
So, put on a video to see what the game looked like. I saw somebody playing it, and I won't lie, I fell asleep. I don't know if it was because of the way the guy was playing it. He just wouldn't leave this one room. He just kept going through security cameras.
That's the game.
Wasting his electricity. He's like,
That's the game. That's the whole game.
So
yeah.
Again, I didn't finish because I fell asleep. But I don't know, Gr. So Gr, you went into this.
I don't know anything about it. Nothing.
Okay, good. So this is what we want. So let's give us your thoughts, brother.
Well, speaking of sleeping, I'll be honest. I kind of started nodding off at the beginning a little bit because this is a slow burn. This movie is a slow burn. How much of a slow burn that the movie doesn't pick up to 40? I do this all the time. 40 minutes into the film is when the movie started picking up. 40 minutes.
Yep.
I understand what they did. It was all character building in the beginning. Presenting Mike and all the trials and tribulations he has, all these demons and ghosts he has in his closet. Mm-hmm. The fact that he's taking care of his sister, and basically the whole world's against him in a way.
Mike Schmidt, that's his name?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the protagonist in the video game as well, right? The name, at least the name.
Mike, yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
So for me, it's like, it took a while for me to get into it. I like slow burns. And if I'm nodding off at a slow burn in the beginning, it's not a good thing because I usually don't nod off too much on slow burns, but it took a while to build up. And then when it started building up, when you get the whole storyline, I'll be honest, I was confused at first as far as, God, this guy works and all he does is sleep. So, how does he still have a job and stuff? But
I'm like sitting there. I'm like, wait. I'm like, I work and then I sleep almost all day. But he means sleep at work. I know sleep at work. I work. I know that's when I realized about sleeping at work.
Sleep at work, and his whole job is to pay attention to cameras, and he's passing out the whole time and taking medication to pass out, basically.
But there was a reason he was doing.
I know there was a reason, but for me, once you started getting the reasoning, now trust that the reasoning I wasn't 100% sold on. But as somebody who didn't come in, I didn't come in with high expectations because I didn't know anything of the film. So I went in fresh with no expectations whatsoever. Because I know people were raving about this film. You see it all over Instagram, all over Twitter. People were going high marks, including one of our antagonists. Starts with the letter B.
Oh, we don't speak of that.
That's why we don't speak the name. But so for me, like I said, slow build, took a little long to get going, and then once you got going,
hold on. that antagonist loved this movie. Say no more.
Oh my god, I know who you're talking about. Really?
We don't say the name though.
They're muted, so I don't see any of the posts anymore.
Look at Joe. Joe's still wondering who
I'm just gonna suck on my cigarette.
They got muted once they said Alien was a trash movie.
No, but yeah, I mean, once it got past that 40-minute mark, it was a roller coaster ride that I was wondering whether I should be the front seat or in the back seat.
Yeah, it's interesting because just gauging by what Angel has said. So the original game, it's pretty much the premise of the guy watching security cameras, trying to see what obviously the animatronics come alive, but in this movie they came up and fabricated the story with Mike and his trauma. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
they
pull the Transformers, where the Transformers, instead of being about the Transformers, it's about the humans, and the Transformers is there.
Yes. Oh my god, that is the best thing. That's the perfect way to say this. And I don't want humans in my Transformers movies.
No, me neither.
That's perfect. You just said that so perfect. I'm going to use that.
Joe, the psychologist, my boy, the psychologist. You mentioned psychology, so chat me up, brother.
Well, I mean, so I didn't play the game. However, I read a lot of blogs, Newsarama, like a lot.
Yeah.
So I knew of the game. Read up a lot on the game actually. Mm-hmm. So I never played it, but I went in knowing some knowledge of the game and pretty much what was supposed to be in the game and was not in the movie. Adam, my husband, and I, we watched this. We're watching it together. And the thing is, he was kind of someone looking forward to, and then he fell asleep. And I decided I'm not going to wake him up because I want to finish watching the movie, and he's just going to get up and complain, this is slow, blah, blah, blah. So I'd rather watch the movie in silence. And, I agree, it's a little slow. The slow part was the psychological part they introduced, I'm assuming, to the movie, because based on what I originally read, this is kind of a little bit more new stuff. My rating is gonna evolve after we're all done talking, literally, on this, because like I'm so in the middle of really loving it and then kind of hating it.
Yeah.
Because sorry, Rick. Because I mean I don't play them as much now. The only games I play is my Final Fantasy on my phone, and every once in a while I'll pop my old PS2 and play Twisted Metal or Final Fantasy. But I don't play any other games. But I'm still a somewhat of a gamer. I was a gamer back in the day. So, when you watch a movie based on a game, there's so much expectations that go into it.
Yeah, it's hard.
That, I mean, I'm pretty sure some of you guys saw Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. And if you played a Final Fantasy game, that was such a letdown. And it's, Silent Hill is one of the best
looking movie, but
it's beautiful looking back at the time though. But Silent Hill for me was, Silent Hill. I still like the Resident Evil.
Of course, that's still
there's a
quality games.
That's what I'm saying. I
thought you were about to say something negative about Silent Hill, and I was gonna have to take a break. Okay, go ahead.
I thought you loved Silent Hill.
No. He said something good, but I thought he was going to say something negative. I love.
Oh no, that's what I'm saying.
Silent Hill adaptation.
Me too.
So for me, I came into this movie as a gamer watching a movie based on a game. Yeah. Are you going to be able to deliver that? Because I never played the game, but I knew enough information. I knew there was a lot in here. I'm like, wait, that's not what. Like, okay, so I do like some of the changes they made. And I'll talk about it in the end, because considering I think this is PG-13 and
very PG-13.
Right. So and that's what I'm saying. I'll say this in the end, what was actually a little bit of the horror in this that I found. But overall, like JR said, once things got a little bit more kicked in, it got better. I didn't hate it, but as a person who played video games is now watching a movie based on a game, I can understand the disappointment, because you want to see what you want to sit there and you want to watch a movie on how you played the game, because most of them are how you played it and how you wanted the game.
Yeah.
So you want to watch this without the remote in your hands, doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And when that didn't happen, it was on that part, it's a bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should this film should it have been R-rated, right? And should there have been more an emphasis on the violence in the movie? What say you, brother?
Here's the problem. I don't think if it would have been rated R, it would have made a difference because it wasn't. This movie wasn't really about the animatronics till I would say the third portion of the film. So if you look at the film, it's an hour and almost hour and 50 minutes. I would say an hour of this film is just the building of the character and what he's going through. So the one scene where you had the most like gore was in the 47-minute mark when the girl got bit in half.
And
And they did it often, so you see the shadow.
Shadow.
And then you see the torso drop on the ground, which
My mortal enemy.
yeah, which it didn't. It did nothing for me. I mean, I don't think it would have made a difference if you would have had the violence because of the fact that the story arc of this film was so dominant that the animatronics felt like they were just props.
Yeah, I feel you.
And that's the issue I think they had in this film.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense because
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's a very good because it does take a while for like the actual storyline with the actual animatronics.
Yeah.
You know, Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, and Chica. Is that correct?
Chica.
That's
Chica.
correct, right?
Chica.
How about you, Joe? What say you?
So this is like because I thought I was gonna go in and see animatronic animals just basically killing, slicing, eating people. And that's not what I got. Like, you know, and the most goriest, and it's not even gory because it happened on Shadow. You know, and I get using because I talked about this before.
What, the cupcake?
No,
the girl that the girl got bit in half. I mean, I talk about it enough where I say, you know, Toby Hooper is one of those people that he made you saw the scene itself, you know, and just they could have tried that. They didn't do it here.
Yeah, he used no gore, just
no. So
just
I
violence.
really was hoping that I was going to watch these animatronic things, like, and especially once the people got in, so they can try to get Mike fired. You know, that we're working for the aunt. Like, I'm like, all right, we got three. Was it three of them, right? Four of them going in. So we're about to watch some slasher shit with these fucking animatronics and no. And I just because of that. Because you dragged me out, and then we got to this point, and then this is what you served me. I'm like, really? I'm like, thank God I did not wake up Adam. Oh my God, thank God I did not wake up Adam. He would be so mad right now.
You can still watch it back with him.
He's not going to, I promise you that. Because when he asked me how did it go, and I told him the story, he's like, and I'm like, I know. Yeah. But I mean, that would like. Now, if it would have been R-rated and you would have seen, you know, because that one that had the hook, I wanted to see that guy.
Foxy.
Foxy. I wanted to see Foxy, you know, put that hook in somebody, rip them up. I mean, I wanted to see some gore / and it just, since I didn't get it, like then I'm like, oh my God, you have wasted so much of my time right now.
No, for real, like for me, like without the like on-screen violence in this film, it really felt like an episode of Goosebumps, you know. And it had moments of being scary. I'm not gonna lie, it had moments, right? But it never really went all in. Like with an outrageous concept as this, embrace it.
Oh my God,
go all in. Like, show violence, show gore. Like, the people that are fans of this game, right? Us as teenagers, me and Joe raved about this during our Totally Killer review. Us growing up, we were like, we had violence in front of us, right?
Yeah.
But we're teenagers. And those horror movies, they're not aimed towards adults. They were always aimed at teenagers because we know it's not real. Obviously, like I said, I never played the games to that extent. I thought judge it by, like I said, like the memorabilia and the people talking about, oh my God, it's PG-13. How can they do that? I thought, oh shit, the games must be really fucking violent. But when you watch the film, it's all off screen. The person gets cut in half. There's no blood. It's just, you know.
You just see it drop.
Yeah. I don't understand. Like, if you're gonna make a film like this, right? And we saw this PG-13 movies that are way more violent than this
yeah.
one,
Oh yeah.
and that's saying
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
I think one of my biggest gripes is embrace it, man. Don't you can't go half-ass on this. You got a property that your fan base, your fan base are gonna go to the theater in droves, and guess what? They did, and not only that, they went and saw it on Peacock, and they still made so much
I
money.
know, that's
But you know how this
insane.
movie's successful? This guy's a fucking genius. He made his money, right? He made his money back by selling the streaming and the theatrical distribution rights, bro. When he did that, he made all his money back on the budget of this movie.
Nice.
So if you could do that, bro, put the I'm not saying make this fucking Evil Dead or fucking
Well,
or fucking When Evil Lurks. No, you don't gotta make it like that. But you got these animatronic killers.
Mhm.
Use them. You know, like
Well,
it's weird. Now
well-
I will say this: I was confused with like the whole ghost thing, and the bodies of the children are still in there. Because we saw when the girl was cut in half, Max, an arm came out of the fucking.
Yeah, Freddy's arm.
Yeah.
So what was that? Was that supposed to be a real arm, or was?
Well,
Can
it's just-
anyone
it's-
explain that?
It's probably just she saw that because it was just one of the ghosts.
Yeah. Oh man.
I think when they set up this story the way that they did with the child murdering, I think that they automatically assumed that we wouldn't still feel bad for the kids if they were bad animatronics, because I got about halfway in this movie, and when these animatronics were standing around building a fort, I was like, what the fuck am I watching right now? They are not supposed to be doing this. I am so angry right now. I hate this so much. And people who are defending it are like, oh, you have to remember their kids. I'm like, okay, but they just like cut people in half with their mouths. Like there has to be like a balance, like lined up. If you're gonna have kid spirits inhabiting like animatronics, they it's like they tried to do both parts. It was like, and leave that shit out, because we as viewers are going to feel bad that children were murdered. I don't think you need to make them cutesy, cuddly fort making animatronics to make it so that we are like, oh, but they're kids. So what? They're killing people. Like
Right.
that's, you know what I'm saying? And so the arm thing and Hearst and Max seeing the kid, I was like, that was
Yeah.
supposed to be
That
like
took me out.
Abby's thing, the little sister. That was supposed to be her connection. So why is another adult that's coming in there wrecking up the place able to see the kid spirits when that's not necessary? Like all it did was pull me out of it. And I'm like, we
That's
know that
another
they're
question
kids.
I got. I got that question about Abby, but I will save it for later.
Okay.
Angel, I'm sorry. You can finish.
No, you're fine. As far as the R rating, I think JR made a really good point. It wouldn't have the R rating wouldn't have, they would have had to do other things. They would have
Yeah.
had to have given
As
us more.
is, no, it wouldn't. But
Yeah.
they would have to add more violence.
Yeah.
in it.
I mean, and I know like people are going to get so sick of me making this comparison, but it is what it is. Willie's gave us the crazy animatronic slasher that made no damn sense. You know, like if you want to see a body get taken in half by an animatronic, watch Willie's.
I went
Because
to
not only
watch
do you
that.
get to see him smack a body literally in half, but blood just comes like shooting all crazy out of it. Like the kills in that are like way better, a lot more gore, a lot more craziness. And it's hard because I know why they went PG-13, but I've also seen what Blumhouse can do with a PG-13. And that's the thing that was disappointing. They could have gone a lot harder for this and still kept that PG. I mean, PG-13, they could have said one F word, and they said 1.5 cuss words, and there's no gore. It's like, so what was it rated PG-13 for?
There is no F words in this movie at all.
No, but there
there
could have been,
isn't.
was my point.
I'm hoping that they're going to drop an unrated version of this. But the problem is, the last time they did a PG-13, and I reviewed that one, and then they did the R version, and we reviewed that one. All they did was add more swear and just a couple more gore.
That's
So,
Megan, right?
Megan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I like in my head as I'm watching, I'm like, well, maybe I'll get a. Yeah, no.
No,
Sorry.
they've said they're not going to do an unrated, and they are embracing the no gore moving forward into the other films, and they're all going to keep it because it went from being a trilogy to now there's going to be 6 total. So there's going to be the
They're gonna
trilogy,
do all the other
and then
games.
they're going to do spin-offs, and they're going to keep the PG. This is what they're saying right now. We'll see, but that they're going to keep the PG-13 and they're going to keep it clean like that. But that's the audience they're trying to get, and that's the that makes it hard. Like,
this is the thing. I hate PG-13 horror.
and
Lately,
I love PG-13 horror.
you love it?
Yeah.
But lately, I've been embracing it more. Like I said, we talked off camera before. Insidious, they're all PG-13. I never watched that series because of that. I've watched all the movies now, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I could tell you, the one thing Friday Nights at Freddy lacks at PG-13, if you're not going to add gore and violence, which is fine, make it scary. Insidious had scary moments.
Yes.
This film had no scary moments in it. So, Joe, there is a scene in this film that caught people off guard. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know how we all stand. How did you feel about the revelation about who's behind everything in Friday Nights at Freddy's?
Well, all right. So it was pretty obvious, Matthew Lillard's in the movie. I mean, and when he hung up the phone and he's like, "I'll see you next time, maybe." I'm like, all right. So obviously you're hiring people to send to Freddy's to get killed. All right. But I didn't halfway through, I started figuring out something was wrong with the cop. It was the weird conveniences.
She knew too much, yeah.
She didn't have nothing to do. She was just off all the time.
And that's
I thought about that. What kind of cop is this?
So, after a while, I was like, the cop's got something to do with this. But wait, what does she have to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
So and then when it revealed, because then I started going, all right, hold on. And then they show her looking at everything, and I'm like, she's connected to this somehow. So either, and I literally, as I watched it, either she's looking for a family member herself that got killed.
Right.
Or she's just covering up for the person who owns Freddy. And then, I was I'm not gonna lie, slightly surprised that it turned out to be her father. Because I did, that was the only one little thread I didn't put. I slowly started putting everything together, but the one thread was the fact that she was covering up for her father, knowing her father had done all these things. And she's a cop, never turned him in, knowing full well that he's hiring people to show up at this job that sometimes don't make it out alive, don't get, so and it was, because again, I thought this movie was about animatronics that were going to be killing people. And it was about Mike. Then you started figuring out that Vanessa played part of this because just, again, how much she showed up. So the Lillard, I mean, you would have to be under 13 years old.
He said the Lillard.
But the Lillard twist, you would have to be under 13 years old to not have picked that up. Anybody else over 13 would have known that. The fact that the cop was the daughter and the covering up, I didn't see that coming. I was leaning so much up until the point where she admitted it, that it was as she herself was trying to find out what happened to one of her siblings. So when they did that, it was actually probably when the movie got just a little bit more interesting, was adding that part because she seemed to be a nice person who genuinely did care, who'd been fucking helping out this child killer who's her father. I get it, but she's a fucking cop, which makes it even worse.
See, this movie has a lot of plot holes in it.
She's a cop. I would get that she wanted to be a cop.
And why didn't she say anything sooner?
Right, she wanted to stop
she put them
father
in danger.
Yeah,
everyone.
Even after he brought his sister into the fucking pizzeria.
I have so much to say on that. Yeah.
So I mean, for me, it the twist. Matthew Lillard, you'd be stupid to not have known that he was tied into it. I did like the daughter part. And then the fact that he stabbed her just so he can keep doing what he was doing. I mean, like I said, there was two twists in there. The Lillard was, I know I keep saying the Lillard. The Lillard was so obvious, but Vanessa's was the one that had me trying to figure things out. But again, I thought I was watching a movie about animatronics that were going to be killing people and not figuring out people's backstories.
Yeah. Angel, I'm gonna throw to you first. Beforehand, though, the character Abby, how did she drew all those pictures, obviously about Garrett being taken and all the. How is she connected to these ghosts? How do they? You know what I mean? Can you explain that before you get into?
I think the only conclusion I could come to with Abby is she's the matter of convenience. This entire movie is built on matter of convenience.
Yeah, that killed me.
Mike can't keep a job, so he just so happens to also have a career counselor who is also the serial killer that killed his brother, who just is like, oh, let me just set you up with this thing. Who also just happens to have a daughter that's a cop. And then Mike just so happens to have a sister that he's taking care of who can also see children ghosts. Like, come on.
Yeah, well, and she's an inconvenience. So if she disappears, because what I thought was ultimately that the Lillard's character wanted Abby.
Don't forget
to put her into the doll.
Don't forget his babysitter was also somehow connected to this.
Oh, don't even.
Well, because the babysitter was high. Yeah,
but still, again, it goes under convenience. What Angel's saying though
is so fucking stupid. Like, first of all, like that's another rabbit hole. So I mean, the only reason that she can do those things is because they needed it for the story. That's the only reason. They hint at her having an imagination and maybe being a sensitive, like a little bit, but they don't focus enough on it for you to just be like, oh.
Thank you. There's not much. It's
like, oh, she has imaginary friends. I mean, okay, so do a lot of kids. That doesn't mean they see shit they're not supposed to see. Like, so that I don't think that had any.
Yeah, like when Mike asked her about the painting, the drawing with Garrett in the back of the car.
Yes, and he's like, "How do you know about that?" Because she wasn't born until many years later.
But we never got that answer at all. So
She's like, "Oh, my friends told me." He's like, "Well, while you're alone next time, ask him a couple questions for me."
I know what word JR is going to use for his part. So JR, I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to throw it to you. If you say it,
now you got me fucked up.
No, you'll know. No,
I don't. Don't you hate when he puts that pressure on you?
No, there's no pressure. Just say what you were going to say originally. You know, I'll be honest. If you don't say it, I'll man up. Good.
All right. So this was way obvious.
Oh, wait, I didn't get to say that. I got to talk about that. Rick asked me a different question. I didn't get to answer the twist thing, right?
Oh, I just figured you said there was no twist for you, so
Well, I just wanted to say that
go for it. No, go ahead.
Only strength the only scene in this that made me go, ooh, was when Springtrap came out. When he came around, that's the yellow rabbit. When he came around the corner and he's like all slumped over and they've got that like booming music, I was like, okay, maybe finally it's gonna get cool right here.
That was Lillard's character?
That's Matthew Lillard. He's
I was so mad when he took his helmet off.
Really? Me too, because in the story, you don't get to meet Springtrap as William Afton. You meet him as Springtrap, where the spring things have already engaged. And he's already an animatronic. And now that they've released that they're doing a trilogy, and that Matthew Lillard has signed for all three trilogies, we already know what's going to happen in the next movie. And you already knew going into the ending, if you'd been paying attention to the news, that he's not going to die or go away. I hated that. And in the games, Mike is William Afton's child.
Oh.
So Vanessa being his child, I think the only reason I could predict that is because I knew that he had a child in the game.
All right.
So, but I think that if they really should have left it as Mike. They really should have left it as Mike being the kid instead of Vanessa, because Vanessa's character made no fucking sense at all. Every time she shut up, I was like, this bitch don't have nothing to do when she's clocked in. Nothing.
No, what kind of cop was she? Like,
she shows up. Kat talks about this on our episode. She shows up at his house with his sleeping pills. Those bodies were just chilling in a storage room. What kind of cop? She just
What investigation was that where they don't find the body?
Yes.
And when Mike told her, "Who are you?" I'm thinking, is she really a cop? Because she don't act like one. She ain't professional.
I thought the same thing. I thought it was gonna be fake.
Yes, and they never went
But
that
they
route.
never
So you're
went
like, wait
that
a
way.
minute.
She's supposed to be a real cop. And then him stabbing her, that didn't have any effect on me because he's already murdered how many people's children? Like that didn't have. You know what did make me mad? Mike going to see her in the hospital. For what reason? She's as much to blame about the situation as
Thank
William
you.
Afton
She could
is.
have said,
Thank you.
"Motherfucker, don't get this job. Go home. Go home."
Yeah, she could have said, you need to leave. Instead, she goes, don't bring your sister back or I'll shoot you. Get out of here. Nobody buying that shit.
The foreshadowing in this film was too fucking obvious. I'll tell you why. Because the minute that Matthew Lillard's character sits down with Mike to give him a job, when he read his name for the second time, he was like, hold up.
Oh,
And add totally different. I was like, bam, there's the first one. He's the killer. Because he pushed for him to get the job. He asked him on 3 separate occasions, do you want the job? Do you want the job? All right. So as he's leaving, he said, hold up. Ask him again. So right there, all right, he's the killer. Before he even walked out the office, and he was the killer. Now, as far as Vanessa goes, Vanessa was another one that's too obvious because she happened to show up on Mike's first day on the job, just walking around.
Yeah, randomly pops
Randomly.
up.
Yeah.
Second day he goes to work, she's inside already. So now you have the key. So now you have access to this place. So obviously,
duh.
it's just.
I didn't think of that.
And also, why is that place still open? And why do they need a security guard working?
Because
They
they
don't.
had
That- it
people
don't make
breaking,
any-
That don't make
people were
sense to me.
breaking in, and this is where they messed up
But
with the
why is that
violence.
place still open?
If people are breaking in, if you want to put the violence in the film, have everybody who's been breaking in get killed by these animatronics, and
That's what I
then you
thought was
have
gonna
a whole thing of why is nobody reporting?
Well, no, let's not forget they killed the previous guard before Mike in the
Well,
beginning.
they
Yeah,
killed the
yeah.
previous guard,
But-
but there was other people who
Yeah,
were breaking
It's
in, which
weird.
they could have been
It's
killed
just a
off.
weird narrative.
And the fact is, when she went to go see him, and he was like, "Could we go take a walk?" They go take a walk, and basically, now first of all, the way she was acting towards him, she's already infatuated with him on day 2. So that leads you to believe, all right, she's
He
stringing
is
him
cute,
along for a
though.
reason.
He is cute though.
But she's like, "Oh, you're fucked up. Oh, but by the way, let me sit down and talk to you." And then the fact that she said some people broke in, but didn't say anything about the bodies that were in there, which obviously she moved. So it was a lot of it was just too obvious.
Yeah.
So when he finally the twist at the end, I mean, come on, even when he stabbed her, that scene was probably the worst acting in this whole film because he stabs her, she goes, "Dad,
That was a bit undersold. Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm like, come on, really?
I agree.
And then don't forget, this is the girl who played Beck in You. So
I know.
she can play
I
that.
know. I think it's
I
the
was waiting
writing.
for
I
Joe
don't
to
think
say
it's
that.
her. I think it's a writing thing.
But for me, it's like
Yeah, she was a terrible character. Yeah.
the twist was so badly done. I mean, what I would have preferred is if she was maybe a survivor of what happened over.
I really wanted them to
Instead
do that.
of him being her being his child, she was a survivor trying to figure out this whole time who
good
the
twist.
killer is and what's going on.
Leaving Mike as the son.
Yes.
Because he would have given more explanations of her staring
Yeah.
at all the pictures on the wall.
Yeah, yeah. Leave
And
Mike as the
instead
son
it's
with
like-
her.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm saying, but leave Mike as the son, like you said. How
Yeah.
make her be a survivor trying to figure it out. So they
Yeah.
both have these 2 different connections,
Yes.
connecting their characters together.
Yep.
So yeah, I like you guys as.
Yeah.
Oh
The
my
thing
God,
too is
you
Mike,
came up with a good idea together.
Mike and Vanessa come off as 2 assholes because Mike was willing to give up Abby.
Oh. Yeah.
Vanessa
Yeah,
basically
it's a
undersold the
mistake.
fact that I knew all the time about care, but I didn't want to say nothing to you. Let me sit down for a minute. I'm sorry, I can't go with you. And third thing, if I was going to the hospital, I'm like, listen, I want you to stay away from Abby. Oh, by the way, give me a minute, look around, put the pillow over her face.
Unplug.
You know what I'm saying? Kill her off because now she's going to be in the sequel. Now she's going to be probably the main protagonist to go after her father. So they already ruined the sequel. I mean, you already
because they've shown us that Vanessa survives and that not Stu Macher. I'm sorry. William Afton is
The Lillard.
the Lillard is going to be in Springtrap.
And I agree. The minute he took off the mask,
Lost
ruined the
it
movie.
all.
There was no point in that because
now
when he comes back in the sequel, the mask is gonna be locked into his head. He can't take it off.
The sequel should have revealed that, if anything.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
also,
Empire Strikes Back style.
that suit's the only one like that. If
Yeah.
you look at the way the others are, when we get the close-up shots of all the other animatronics, they are welded
No,
together.
Foxy's his animatronic is actually an animatronic that involves actual puppeteers
Yeah.
to do the movements, and that's what's so good about this film. We'll get into that in my
And one more point. And another foreshadowing thing that was bad was when Mike and Vanessa go into the storage room, and there's the doll, the animatronic supposed to be Abby,
That's her
and
name.
they show you he's like, you know, trying to touch it, and she goes, "Oh, don't touch it." He puts a broom. Oh, don't let Abby near it. Oh, all right, so that's Abby's animatronic that they're gonna put her in.
The first time I watched it, I totally missed that it was Golden Freddy that went to get Abby, not regular Freddy. I was like, why does he look like that? I didn't realize it was Golden Freddy. I was like, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Why are there so many kids? I couldn't figure it out. And then I watched it because my kid watched it a bunch of times. And I was like, oh my God, that's supposed to be Golden Freddy. I had no idea.
All right, well, let's close this episode out. Angel, we're going to go to you first since you are our special guest.
Here comes the
And
hour.
because I certainly haven't said enough.
Yeah.
here comes the hour in the video. So let's
I'm sorry. I warned you. Y'all knew ahead of time this was going to be like this. I don't know what to tell you. Closing thoughts and rating, right? Y'all do out of 5. Okay. Yeah, okay. So I went into this wanting another Willy's Wonderland. Now, granted, I knew I wasn't going to get that. I just didn't realize how far off from what I wanted this was going to be. I really just wanted a security guy being tormented by animatronics. I didn't want my brother was kidnapped and all those convenient storylines. The storyline with the aunt drove me fucking crazy. That bitch, she's like trying to get stipend check for taking care of a kid she doesn't want, but she's paying how much for these people to and her lawyer, who was a disaster. But anyway,
$1,000 he was willing
there's
to
so many things about this that I wanted to work. You know, Matthew Lillard, I mean, he's great. He's going to be great. And I think he did a great job. I'm looking forward to hearing him be Springtrap in the future and what they're going to kind of do with that, considering the fact that he's definitely dead or is about to be dead. Springtrap was the highlight of this for me. His reveal, again, one of the most powerful scenes in the whole movie. When he came around the corner, all you see is his lights, and he's all like fucked up off to the side and worn down. And I was like, oh, I was ready. And then like everybody said, he took his helmet off or his head off, and it was just like downhill from there. I think the animatronics look great. I really do. I think they looked amazing. I have no complaints about them. I think the acting was fine, minus some weaker parts on Vanessa. But
big shout to Jim Henson's creature show.
Oh yeah.
They look amazing.
The puppeteers that puppeteer these animatronics.
They did such a good job.
Damn it! What was the hook one?
Foxy
was fucking scary.
He was the main animatronic.
Foxy
you could see the skeletal
you know what? I will tell you this. You know what's so funny about this? So Foxy is one of the scarier ones because Foxy can run. So when you're playing the game and you see that shot in the movie when his curtain is open, you're like, oh no. In the game, that's exactly how you feel because you're like, oh no, because he's fast and he'll come up on you before you have a chance to do anything. And what's so funny about this is my son is nothing with the games yet. I haven't been able to find a playthrough that doesn't say the F word like a million times. But he said he saw that curtain open after like the 3rd or 4th time. He was like, oh, mommy, Foxy's out. And I'm like, because he knew Foxy being out was like a bad thing. I did want to give this a shout too, because I did think this was really cool. You know that scene where you see the little kid that's Foxy and he like backs into the curtain and then Foxy comes up? I thought that was a really cool transition. Yeah, that was nice. There's things like that they showed me what they could do, and they didn't do enough of it. The Springtrap thing was such a letdown. I really needed him to not be alive, but like exactly like Joe said, I knew it was Matthew Lillard. I was like, well, he's fucking still alive. So for those reasons, I out of 5. It's so hard to do out of 5 because I need more wiggle room. But out of 5, if I have to rate this, I would give it probably like a 2.5.
Half average.
It's really close to a 3. But there's so many things that outweigh the things that I love that I hated. So it's just really hard to keep ignoring those thing. So I'm still gonna watch the next one. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I'm just gonna hope that it's better.
Well, the problem is this movie was so successful that I don't think they're gonna change the formulas.
They're not gonna. Well, it is. I think it either is their first or second or third for Bloomhouse. It's in the top 3 of Bloomhouse of their most. So it's a franchise, and
Yeah.
it's all going to be the same.
Yep.
It's probably this is probably going to be the only Five Nights at Freddy you'll see on here.
As somebody that doesn't know anything about the game, anything about came in fresh. One thing I would say is that Josh Hutcherson did an amazing job as a lead role.
Yeah.
And I seen a couple of his films. I knew who he was, but I'm like, all right, I didn't really see something where I'm like, wow.
Name me something other than the Hunger Games.
I got nothing.
I got
That's
nothing.
Oh shit! Hold on.
Come on,
But I
Joe.
liked him as PETA.
That's who?
I
Oh,
thought he was
yeah.
fine.
He's
Oh,
good. He's
Damn
good.
it!
Joe don't know.
Keep going. Keep going. No,
Yeah,
there
Joe.
was the no. Go ahead, Joe.
Only place I know him from. But not you, me. I don't know me.
Oh no! I'm like I hate when you put me on the spot.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Because you said
I
earlier
love
that
it. I
you were
know. I
famous,
love it.
so-
I love it, but I hate when you do it. But I love it.
Gotcha.
No, like he did an amazing job carrying the film as far as the character. The Abby girl, I didn't care much for her. Vanessa is just every time she appeared, it was in the awkward scenes that you're like, what? Why are you here? But as far, the way I took of this film is if they would have taken that storyline and put it into a separate film on its own for people who didn't know anything about Five Nights at Freddy, as far as the dreaming of the scenes trying to relate that would be a cool movie on its own.
Yeah, on
If you
Nickelodeon.
have, because you don't have the plot of having to bring in animatronics into it, just even though it's been done before, it's nothing that's not original. It's
But
been
the
done
best part
before.
of this film was the animatronic.
Yeah, it was animatronics,
Can't take that out.
but I still think the animatronics were just the props of the film because it was more about the character Mike, what he was going through battle, and the fact that you still have a guy who, it doesn't explain for me. It's like, all right, so they're living in a house that obviously was their parent, the mother's house who died, who they really didn't explain how she died, which kind of threw me off a little bit. Was it something tragic? The fact that the father couldn't, the father basically abandoned them. So there was a lot of stuff that you're putting into the story that you're putting layer on top of layer on top of layer. When somebody who just came in fresh, I just want a simple film to hook me. I'm not saying it didn't hook you because it does have an interesting storyline as somebody who never played the game, but I just feel like it was one of those films once again that I didn't know anything about, but then reading all the comments, everybody's giving this one of the greatest films of the year, and I
Best
didn't
video game adaptation ever. Get out of here.
I didn't. For me, and I agree with Angel on this one, the best video game adaptation is always going to be Silent Hill. I don't think anything's going to top that one yet.
As far as
The Last of
As
Us.
far as film, as far as
Resident
movie,
Evil.
no, not Resident Evil. No.
I like Resident
Silent
Evil.
Hill
No,
is
it's
way
a
better than
good-
Resident Evil.
It's
as
not.
far as
It's not
a
better
good
than
adaptation.
Silent Hill, though.
No,
No,
it's not.
Silent Hill's great.
No,
Silent
that's what I'm
Hill's
saying.
great.
Silent Hill, as far as a film, is the best adaptation I've seen for transition. But for me, because I didn't know anything, I'm gonna give it a 3 because I did like certain aspects of the storyline, but the problem is there were so many plot holes that you ruined the storyline in the process.
Plot hole.
Craters.
3.
All right, Joe the psychologist, my brother. What's up, son? What you got for me?
All right. So for me, the actual horror in this was the kidnapping parts. Was because
It's always scary, man.
I'm the older brother in our family, and we have been in situations, JR, if you remember, Indian Wells, we've gone to camping things like, done day things like that. And
He's just saying he's a hero. No.
What?
He left us a couple times.
I never left you guys. But I mean, like, for me, like, it's just like the horror in this movie was the dream sequences and the fact of the kidnapping. And I sat there, I'm like, all right, so they got PG-13. So now they got a whole bunch of kids all kind of freaked out about kidnappings and things like that. That's kind of where the only horror came into me in this movie
Yeah.
was of the
Kids.
horror of being kidnapped as a child. And not just that, watching your sibling being taken away and seeing your, because Mike watched his brother like as he's going away. That was the only horror that I
That was
found in this
scary.
movie.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's
That
a
was the
nightmare.
only horror I found in this movie, was because, and the movie obviously took place in the times we grew up. You can tell by the way they dressed, the times. It was not now. This was back in 90s, 80s. And so the thought of being kidnapped, it is scary. And that was the only horror in it. And it was done in dream sequences with Mike trying to figure out what happened to his brother, and then we come to find out that, the Lillard ended up actually kidnapping his brother and killing him, which
And
I
not
guess
putting him into an animatronic
Exactly.
conveniently.
Which didn't make
well,
any
no,
sense.
now
You ran out of animatronics.
I thought that Golden Freddy is Mike's brother.
Yeah.
It's not. So see, like that's why
Golden Freddy's that little blonde kid in the brown and gold
Wait,
sweater.
so Freddy Fazbear was a blonde kid the whole time?
The regular Freddy is a different kid.
So okay, the blonde.
So
kid's
I thought.
the
So
Golden Freddy,
watching this,
that-
I thought that Mike's brother was Golden Freddy.
I see.
Because because the other bear is the other kid. Are you telling me that Golden Bear? So is Golden Bear the other kid or?
Golden Freddy is the little boy with the blonde hair that you see at the end of the movie looking at Springtrap.
Mm-hmm.
But in this one, it feels like that the little boy was Freddy's. The blonde kid was Freddy's bear.
See, that's what I assumed, but no. Apparently, the Golden Bear is the blonde kid that's always was talking.
The blonde is the leader. Golden Freddy is the leader of the little group.
So see, I thought that the blonde kid was the Fozzie, or not Fozzie.
Freddy.
Fozzie.
Yeah,
I don't know why I said
Fozzie Bear.
Waka.
Yeah, comment down, bitches. I know where I'm at.
We gonna do this.
So, as far as rating, I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Oh my god, Angel and I agreed.
See, I went into this film giving it a 3.5 as a casual viewer. I know GR said it was a slow burn. Joe agreed. I was never bored in this movie. Angel did mention there was the dream sequences a little too much. I will say that, and the fact this guy was
not realistic either.
No, it's not, because this character's thing is he wants to go back into his dreams to pick up. Right?
You can't do that.
You can't do that. That's
you
not.
Can't
you
do
can't
that.
go to the same dream every single fucking night.
That.
So immediately you get taken out.
Yeah.
Okay, now you're making up shit. All right. But to me, I never played the games. Right? It was fun, engaging. I felt like, but the problem is, I feel like it was a watered down version of a horror film edited for television. That's what it felt like to me.
And it could play. It could play on TV without editing.
Yes, exactly.
Well,
That's the worst part. It could play on TV without editing.
Yeah. But but the things I did like the original music fit the theme of the movie.
I did like the music.
Extra points for Elastica's Connection. I love that fucking song back when it came out in the day. I mean, it was played during a silly scene when they're building a fort here, but
That's a good one.
The use of the song was top tier for that. But I mean, again, I want to give credit to the Jim Henson's Creature Shop.
Yeah,
like their work in this film. It's the best use of practical over an abundance of CGI any horror fan can hope for, because the animatronics looked amazing and the puppeteers, they fucking ruled. Again, Foxy looked great because again he was the most skeletal of all the four animatronics that were used in this film. He looked fucking awesome. But again, I got questions. Like I mentioned before, how did Abby know about the drawings and whatever? It is what it is. Even the opening credits of this film had that awesome that synthesized theme to it, and it had the 8-bit graphics. And if you watch it again, it actually tells you the story of how the Freddy's Fazbear's Pizzeria was closed down, because it shows the kids getting kidnapped and turned into the animatronics. So the whole fucking story is told to you in the fucking beginning of this film.
Movie.
Yeah. If you really if you look into that. But I never found it boring. But I agree with GR when he mentioned the slow burn. When you think about it, it really is. Because at one point, when the actual animatronics came to life and they were threatening, I was like, okay, now the movie's starting. I didn't time it like GR, so it could have been
Took
an
a long
hour in.
time.
But
Took a long time.
it did. I watched this with my girlfriend, and she really enjoyed the movie. She liked it more than I did, and again, it's probably built to that audience that's not like they're not like me. I love gore, violence, give me more
Again,
blood, give me more everything.
PG-13.
Yeah,
we are not PG-13 people.
You know me, I'm against, but I've kind of I watered down my stance a bit. If it's as long as it's scary, I don't need blood and guts. I don't need pervasive language and nudity. But if it's scary, right? If it's a scary PG-13, now after watching PG-13 movies that are like that, I could appreciate it. So I kind of my stance at PG-13 horror is kind of better now.
Good.
But
Yeah.
this wasn't one of them.
It wasn't scary.
Feel like a horror movie.
It wasn't
It
scary
didn't
at
feel like
all.
a scary film at all. It felt like this felt like a kids movie, unfortunately, in my eyes. But I give it a 3.5 because I don't think it was the worst movie I've ever seen.
No.
I give it a 3, but the 3.5 is because of the animatronics, and they did not rely on CGI. Any production company does not. I mean, of course, there's CGI in it to enhance things, but it's not relying on it. It's all puppeteers. There's people behind the scenes controlling these things. It's not a computer. And for that, I would give it the extra point because it looked beautiful. The cinematography was great. The music was good. This choice of songs, again, good choice on it. Too many plot holes, though. Way too many plot holes. And you guys mentioned it. Too many. Angel said it. Conveniences. Like, way too much of that. So I hope if they, when they do the sequel, the problem is if movie's successful, they're not gonna listen to guys like us.
They're not gonna change it.
No,
they're
not. They're gonna listen to the paid
They don't
audience.
need to change the formula that they have right now.
That's gonna be it for this episode. Thank you for joining us on this special double-sized episode of Three Corners of Horror. I got my boy JR. Welcome back, my friend. I missed you.
Thank you.
Joe the psychologist.
I've been here.
I missed Angel for the last video. Welcome back. I'm glad you made it for this episode because you are the perfect guest to feature because we're ignorant for Five Nights at Freddy's. But now we know everything that's got to do with Five Nights at Freddy's. I appreciate it. And GR, thank you, my brother. Thank you, Joe the psychologist. I'm Ricky Grimes. Come back next week for another episode of Three Corners of Horror. Stay safe, stay sane, stay healthy, but most of all, stay scared, motherfuckers, and watch horror films that are R